Welcome in the next episode of Pragmatic Talks, where we are going to discuss how AI is helping developers in their day-to-day job. Today with me is Sebastian Druciak, who is one of our experts in AI coding or coding with AI. Welcome, Sebastian.
Hi there, Victor.
It's great that you are here, and it's great that you decided to share some tips and tricks on how you use AI in your daily work, how you use AI to help you with programming, with coding. And thank you for being here.
Happy to be here. It's a nice time to be a, let's say, expert in such company in the AI. So that's also a good thing for me to be there.
Let's start with the first question about the things that we are not going to talk about today, but I think it requires some explanation, and mainly because a lot of people are talking nowadays about vibe coding. Mm-hmm. So could you tell us a little bit more what the vibe coding is and how it is different from the way that programmers, especially experts in programming, are using AI in their daily work?
So I guess that vibe coding popped up, I don't know, last month, I believe. I heard about this first time, to be honest, last week. So the Andrew Karpathy, the, let's say, inventor of the vibe coding, he said that the hottest new programming language is English, or we can also say Polish, Italian, whatever. In vibe coding, you are just focusing on what you want to achieve. So you're focusing on the functionality you want to build. You're not focusing on the details, on the tech details. So this is the main thing. You are just focusing on the feature. You are skipping the technical part. So everything is generated by the AI. You are marking it as a production ready. So you are just generating, push it to the production, and you can forget about your code because it's generated. It's supposed to work. So you are giving all of it for the AI. You're just solving the real problem.
Yeah, and I think that many people are so fascinated about vibe coding nowadays that there is more and more tools that are actually allowing doing that. Mm-hmm. And there's a bunch of people who have never been programming before, who nowadays can actually try it on their own, build something, deploy it on production, and bring it to massive people who are using those kind of usually very simple applications, very simple software.
Yeah, that's right. And this is something similar we spotted on the beginning when the AI pop up. There were a lot of memes of the conversation between a developer and just, let's say, casual guy, not from the IT, that he developed the page and he was sending the HTML file. It was skipping all of the process, but just focusing only on the page itself. And this is the similar approach, because if I would use the vibe coding for the production products for the customers, when their bug will appear, the customer might ask me what happened, why it happened, and my answer would be, yeah, AI generated it, so it's not my fault. And as professionals, we cannot answer in this specific way. That's why the vibe coding is a very cool concept. It's very cool for the personal project, for the small projects, or maybe for just validating your thoughts, if that's something that would work.
Yeah, validating ideas, building some kind of, let's say, MVP or proof of concept, providing it to the broader audience. And then when the things goes further and the product is used by many of users, then usually there's the moment where vibe coding is not enough anymore, and you need to hire a serious developer for actually changing your application. At least right now, at the let's say first half of 2025, things may change pretty rapidly, and who knows what will happen at the end of the year or in the next years.
Yeah, that's right. And also, you mentioned that for the business, it seems like it's very catchy, because the speed that we develop the functionalities is pretty crazy. I am sometimes really surprised how fast I can deliver, but it's still just for my personal use, not for the enterprise use. So
regarding the speed, like from what I read, from what I heard, and from what I see at Pragmatic Coders and elsewhere, is that actually AI, regardless of vibe coding, but AI supporting programmers in coding is accelerating process of delivering software, the process of programming. It's accelerating it by 2 times, 3 times, sometimes even more, especially for some simple cases. So how do you see it from the programmer perspective? How AI speeded up your work?
For sure, it's hard to measure because from project to project it differ, and also from problem to problem it also differ. But at the end, we can feel that we have much more time that we can spend, not in the kitchen discussing some random things, but we can spend it on the product still because we have more time for the tests. We have more time to build some kind of the process. So we can spend this spare time that AI gives us for the other things. So currently, the developing process is kind of changing, and it's changing a lot because of AI. Because now we have tools that are really supportive in the way that we can understand the problem better, and also to speed up the process of the coding itself. So there are a few ways that we can use AI, and one is the coding, and second is the process. So if we have if we have a mature team, we can start using an AI as a whole, not as a separate one single part of the team. So for example, we can start using AI as a pipeline process in our CI/CD. I personally am trying the way of the, let's say, first step of the code review, because I'm working with juniors, and sometimes the code that they are writing can be verified by the automates. So that's the way I'm trying to validate if this is something for the AI also. So this is the one part, but the most important probably and most catchy is the whole coding process. And here there are also different ways to get the support from the AI. One, and the simplest, is Copilot. So the inline editor, something more fancier that we got in the IDE. So we got some suggestions that we can use, and we are applying it or not. So this is some kind of the easiest way to get into the AI. And then we can decide if you want to go a step further. So with aging generation, that's something that we want to stay for a bit to get more comfortable, because when we are working on the Copilot with the Copilot, this is generating only the single one line. But when we go further, when we go for the agentic generation, we can start generating on the multiple files. So the mentality of the reviewer is pretty key in this kind of the work.
You already mentioned Copilot as a tool. I think we will record a separate episode where we'll review most popular or one of the best coding tools, AI coding tools for developers. But that's the topic for another discussion. But you said that the Copilot is something for, like a simple code edits, like some, let's say, one line on one function, one method generation, things like that.
Yes.
But I know that you're using way more advanced tools. So could you share what's your favorite and how do you use it?
So I am currently a big fan of the IDER, which is an open source agent run in the terminal. So there is no limitation if you want to use Visual Studio Code, or we are big fans of the IntelliJ. So I personally, I am from the Java as a main language, and I am big fan of the IntelliJ, and I don't see myself in other IntelliJ in the IDE that is available in the market. That's why I go with the IDER. And maybe I can also show a quick sample.
Show us how you use it.
So let's open the terminal. So as you can see, I just ran the IDER. I started the agent. And what I can do in this tool. So first of all, I can add something to the context, because context in this AI is, I believe, one of the most important thing that we can share with the AI. So first of all, I can add something to the context. So let me add a file. I have some some samples here, so maybe I will go with the AI agent, let's say here. And what we can do, we can start working on the file I just added. So maybe I will ask, what is the purpose of this specific file?
So you actually don't need to read the documentation, or maybe there is no documentation. You can just ask AI to explain you what the file is about.
That's correct. What is the purpose of agent py? So I'll just select also the file. Okay. So now what Aider is doing is he prepared the quick document. What is the agent .py file doing? So we can see that this is the agent that have a few things that he's capable of. So for example, he is able to add a new, there is some sort of the flows in the system, and we can see that there is a flow management and flow execution, and there's some user guidance. So how to list all the flows and offering help when requested. Okay, so now what can we do? Now we know what is the purpose of this file. To not go into the details and add a new and additional context for this whole system that I'm currently building, we can define a new purpose for the specific file, and we can define, let's say, a new flow, because there is something like flows. And let's start with the prompt. So the prompt will be, let's figure out a new way to interact with the agent. Now let's, for example, read from the file. The main directory will be .input. In the input directory, you can expect XLSX files and their rows will be. And let's define some rows. Let's have an ID, let's have a name and description, and let's see what we will get. Okay, so now we can see that he described quickly what he needs to implement this specific feature that I just requested. Then we can see that he's searching some specific parts of the file. So here he imports because he wants to import pandas for the Excel sheet support. Then we can see that he added some input directory as a start. And then we can go deeper. So we can see that he, by himself, without any other specific details, he just implemented processing of the file. And also what's important, he added something like logging that was mentioned in the previous methods. So first of all, he analyzed what is in the file. He spotted that I have some conventions, which is the logging. So each flow starts with the log, and then it's happening, it's executing. So now we can see that he just implemented some new feature. And now with our process, we have to review each code he generated and decide what to do with it. By the default, he just accepted and he committed the those changes to the Git. So I can decide if I can improve this specific answer, or maybe I want to redo it. So without problem, I can always do the undo. So each change he just did, it will just disappear and came back to the previous state. But what we can do, we can iterate on this. So now he just did some replacement of the files. But still, this code, if you want to add a new way to access to the agent, it will start generating a new methods and this file will start to be unreadable. So now we can request to do some adjustment, for example, to move it to the separate file, to build maybe a new layer of the abstraction, so maybe new class. So we can work around like we are just developing, but instead of clean coding, crisp without and the AI, so old school, let's say, coding, we can instead use our language, English, let's say, to suggest AI what our expectation is, what he's supposed to generate, and skip the execution part to the AI.
Cool. And you just review the code and decide if it's something that you were looking for, or if that's requires some changes, and you just ask AI to change it, alter it according to your suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
That's right. So still, there are no shortcuts to become, let's say, senior developer in 1 year because we are using AI. It's more like we are using our experience to use the AI to speed up our process, but there is no way to skip our experience to somehow, become the senior because we are using AI. We are using the experience, but we are not skipping anything.
Let's say from starting junior developer to some well-performing junior developers, don't you think that using this kind of solutions, and when someone became proficient in using AI and will feel that they know what they are doing with AI, this process of learning coding is much faster than it used to be before. I remember the time that, for example, when I started coding, like most of the time I was spending on solving some issues, solving some errors, and there was no one around who I could ask for help. But with AI, with this kind of solutions, it's much easier. But from the other hand, I see that the things that I learned by solving these problems, those were the things that people who will just ask for the solution, not ask for like the explanation what's wrong. I think that many people could miss this learning phase, that they just go from the okay, I have some code, it doesn't work, oh, it works, I have no freaking idea why, but it works, so it's done, and I move forward.
Yeah, so I can totally agree that as a junior, it has to be something that is helping a lot. And they can even use it for a learning purpose, because when you tell the AI that you have some experience, you are senior developer, you don't need the description about the changes it is suggesting, then it will not give you. But if you go to the different scenario, if you want to have descriptive, responsive, if you say that you are junior, you are just learning, you want to know every detail that he provided, he'll try to do it. So this is the way probably juniors can use it, and it has to speed up that whole process. But those details that you mentioned, that you solve a lot of problems by yourself, those problems to the AI, they are pretty simple.
Yeah.
So at the end, it will deliver without those errors. So this is the part that it has to probably be skipped by the junior.
Yeah, and I think that the definition of junior, senior developer, and something in the middle, those definitions will and actually are adjusting right now. Like someone who used to be a senior developer a couple of years ago, or even last year or 2 years ago, if they are not following the newest trend, if they are not learning how to utilize AI for their day job, I'm not sure if we should even call them senior developers anymore. Like, this is one of the skills that right now should be just a basic skill for every single developer.
I agree that by default we should first go to the AI because that's the simplest solution. Now the documentation, it's something outdated currently, because you have to scroll down through the whole documentation, which is pretty long, and with one single prompt you will get the answer. The problem starts with the newest tools, and that currently are not available via the AI. So that's tricky point, but we can still deliver the documentation to the AI as a context, and you will get the same result. But still, the senior developers that are not using the AI probably will still find some places to work as a senior developer, because there are companies that avoid using AI for different purposes. So still, probably it will differ between some companies, some sectors, even maybe by even by the company types, because in software house we can use whenever we want to.
Of course, it depends on the client, but
Still. But still, there is a way to use the AI if you want to in the secure way. So this is also something worth to mention.
Until we follow the compliance rules and we check what we are using, then we have a lot of freedom in choosing the tools and the way we are using it. So that's good, especially in our context. The second question that I have, that I often hear from many developers who try to use AI, that they are telling that AI is actually a piece of garbage right now and it's unusable. It's totally in a contrast of what I see at Pragmatic Coders, where a bunch of our developers are using AI so effectively, and some of them are, like you or others are sharing the way you are doing this, and it doesn't seem to be like a piece of crap. It's rather something that is improving your work, and most of the people who I know who are using AI here are very fascinated in that and very enthusiastic. So what do you think, where this opinion that AI is still a crap and is something that is not helping developers came from?
So yeah, I can agree that I also heard some opinions that this way. So the AI is not not ready for the speeding up even the process of the development. But this is the problem with the AI, not only in the development, but in all cases, because the AI as a tool, when it came out as a chat, without much context, without much work from our side, in context of the preparation of the prompt and stuff like that, you can get kind of good results aspect. So if you ask for some recipe, let's say you want to cook the chicken, it will give you a recipe how to cook the chicken. But if you have some kind of the standards, so you're cooking chicken for the 13 half hour, so you need to somehow prepare it, and it gives you a default chicken because you didn't tell that you want to do it this way. And the same goes with the development. So we have some structure of the code. We have some details that we always want to include in our solution, but AI by default it didn't know about those assumptions. And that's the main reason. And there are multiple ways to do it. Even when you are using plain ChatGPT, you can also add this information. So we are using Python. We are structurizing the files in the specific way. We are writing tests in specific library, and it goes on. If this is something that you are repeating and keep on mentioning that you are using a specific tool, you are using it in a specific way, then it's starting to be kind of a pain in the ass, because at the end you have to repeat your work. You still have to, each time you ask the AI for some result, you still have to add the same context all over again, and it's starting to be really, really painful as a user.
Yeah, but there are things to how to avoid it. I think we'll talk about it in a moment. Recently, you gave a presentation here at Pragmatic Coders at one of our Monday talks, and you shared that there are like three bases of coding with AI. Like, could you tell us a bit more? What do you think is those three pillars that the AI coding or coding with AI is based on?
So we have three things that we are basing on. So there's a model, prompt, and also a context. And to get the best result, or get a best user experience of using AI, is finding those sweet points using those three bases. So we can start with the model. So if you are, for example, you are building the AI agent that has, let's say, 1,000 of the requests per hour, then you have to think if this model is stronger that we really need to, because the stronger model you use, for example, now Sonnet 3.7 or GPT-4o are currently pretty strong models, but by default we are using the strongest model for the solution, and then we are deciding if we can optimize the cost. And this is something that we have to think if we are using the AI for the developing. Yes, of course we can use the top market models to generate the whole solution, because we want to speed up our work. We are not thinking about the cost. The cost is other thing that it's not that important for this moment. But also there are two types of the models, because with O1 the type reasoning model pop up. And this is something really interesting, because previously we had to iterate through some things. Now, if you give some instructions, let's say 5 instructions to the prompt, it's supposed to iterate with the logical way to give you the best result you can get. But the trade-off is the time response of the specific model. Then the next base is a context, which is for the development is one of the most important thing, I believe, because there were I heard about a lot of questions asking me why you are not putting the whole code base into the context. And when the whole AI thing in the 2023 came out, I was thinking the same. Why not push the whole context to the AI, work on it as a one big block? And the problem is that this is too complex for the AI, because if you have multiple file, multiple lines, the prompt or the expectations that you have from the AI, it will just disappear using this huge block of the context. So we want to focus on what we are adding to the context. With the either, we are trying to limit this as to the minimum. We have some tools to give also the additional infos, like for example conventions file, but still the limit of the context is the clue. We should only pass what is required to the AI to give you the best solution that he can, because this is something similar to if you work with another person. You can give your all the knowledge you have, and then as a person he's supposed to come back to you with a lot of questions, but AI is not doing that. AI is returning you the solution. So based on what he knows, he will give you the solution, but if he have too much knowledge, he will be finding the solution in not proper way. And also this is something that is similar to working with a junior still, because it's something that you are trying to make him to do something, but if your discussion is not turning in the way you want to, you can always reset the whole conversation and decide.
It's much easier with AI than with junior developer, definitely.
It's way easier to reset it, because with junior I know what we can do. But here you are just resetting it, and you are doing the conversation once again, but with the feedback you got from the previous conversation. And the last thing is a prompt. So this is and why it's important. So the prompt and how to structurize is one thing, but what it should contain. So for the simple problem, it should be pretty simple prompt, because still this is something similar with the context. If you have a bigger prompt than the context, then AI may skip the context and do something by himself, by what he was learned about. So the prompt also has to get specific things. So for example, let's use words that is high in the dense, we call it ID keys. So the words with a high meaning. So for example, create, because it cannot be understood as something different. So AI will be focusing on creating something. Understand is something tricky because yes, it can be understood. He is not able to understand. He can analyze something. So we are focusing on the words that is high, that cannot be misleading, basically,
or more specific
Yes.
than less general, more specific words to tell directly what you are expecting. And that might be one of the mistakes. Yeah, that people are.
That's right. But still, there were some questions why, because AI was learned on some, let's say, not that strict data. But still, this is something
like Stack Overflow threads. Yeah, where people when they are usually asking some questions or providing some problem to be answered, they are not very specific.
Yes, that's right. And on Stack Overflow, even people couldn't respond in the proper way because the context on this specific threads was limited.
So don't you think that let's say programmers who are struggling in describing their problems at Stack Overflow, they probably are still struggle with working with AI because they are making the same mistakes.
Yeah, because this is similar, basically. Yes. So for sure. This is something similar.
And I think that may answer the question that I asked. Like, why so many people are let's say disappointed with AI? Like, since you can just review the Stack Overflow threads and the questions that are asked there, and how much clarification those questions often needed to be answered. And I think that's the answer why so many people are struggling with AI, since they were struggling with describing their problems in the proper way to other people. So why should we expect that they will describe it better to AI?
Yeah, that's right. So if you had the problem previously, you still got them.
So I think that that's the saying that some people started coding because they didn't want to communicate with people. Like this joke that I haven't started coding to communicate with other people, which were actually not true even before AI. Nowadays, it's actually even way more important for programmers to be better and better in communicating, in expressing their thoughts than ever before.
Yes, that's right. And this is one thing, the communication with AI is one thing that you have to do it. You have to do it more often. But still, when you have when you are goodly prepared for the building the feature that you want to, so you refine it properly. But still, you have to refine it properly. And most of the time, we are refining it as a team. So still, you have to... you will limit your time in the IDE coding. You will be more attending on the meetings. So still, this is one thing that probably even programmers want to avoid. We don't like to attend the meetings. We want to limit them, but in this era, probably it will not happen.
Yeah, and I think that there may be a need of even, let's say, more meetings with others, because the actual work of programmers right now is moving from actually code generation to generating the ideas, generating the solutions, analyzing problems. And that requires, especially in a complex environment, in the complex systems that are built by many people, that requires communication with others. And of course, the best way to communicate is through the direct meetings, direct communication to each other. So I'm sorry to say to all the programmers that hates meetings and meeting with other people and talking to other people, that with AI, with coding with AI, most probably you will spend more time at meetings. But I think what's more important is that those meetings most probably will be way more effective at the end of the day if you run it well if you do, let's say, backlog refinement and you do a very good specification for the cases that you are going to solve with or without AI. Then even such user story that is created during the refinement. We recently done some experiment with one of our teams where one of our colleagues took the user story that was pretty well refined by the team, actually that team that is really good at refinement, and just gave this story directly to I think it was Cursor AI or Close, something like this, and AI just developed the solution that was almost like a production ready based on the very well refined user story. So yeah.
Yeah, and this is one thing that we will be probably discussing pretty soon, because when we go to our one of the topic, which is, let's say, buffers.
Yeah, that was what I was about to ask. Yeah, like you mentioned during the presentation that there are a bunch of things that may be some kind of buffs or some kind of boosters that will speed up your adaptation of AI in coding.
Yeah, and one of the things is that the good process that we had in our development pool is something that is clue to have a good workflow with the AI, because the refinement here is a key. Because when you work with AI and you understand the problem, this is the safe spot. You can use it, you can generate the result. But still, you have to be really prepared. And the team you mentioned, they were refining, they were putting the snippets into the description of this task. They were mentioning the possible classes that are affected in this change, and the whole description, use cases, test cases, stuff like that. This is something that is pretty well prepared. And if you put this kind of the state for the agent that will generate the code, this will be something that is pretty close to what we want to achieve. And the thing is left to do is just a code review and some iteration on it. But at the end, this skips a lot of work of the developer.
So at the end of the day, maybe they spent a little bit more time on documenting their refinement efforts. But at the end of the day, the entire process of delivering working software was much shorter and much faster than previously, because the code was mostly generated then reviewed, maybe with some adjustment by people and testing.
Yes, that's right. And there are some side effects, because now the whole team understands the functionality. Maybe only one person reviewed the changes, but they are described pretty well in the ticket. So they just built documentation itself. So this is something pretty important. And those things are skipped in the normal environment without the AI, because for the development it's kind of problematic to build proper documentation. This is something that we are building probably most often when we are on outboarding of the project. So this is something that we want to just properly give it to another team. And now this is supposed to be our daily job to document everything properly, because this can be used later on as a context for the AI.
And of course, I think it's worth to mention that the reason why the entire team worked in this case on the documentation, maybe not documentation, but the refinement and the definition of the story, was that they are working in very complex domain, which is like a fintech, very hard financial environment, where with a lot of things that first of all are regulated. Secondly, the domain itself is not simple. It's very complex and complicated, and the knowledge about the domain is always limited. So they use their common knowledge, the team knowledge, to get together all the information that they have to put it into the documentation of very complex stuff. And AI, even with this let's say complicated or heavily complicated problem, AI managed to actually create a piece of code that was working pretty well with this problem.
Yes, but still, this discussion leads us to some assumption that some people are making, that in let's say 1 year, the developers might disappear because the AI. But we cannot agree with that this is something possible. But maybe let's say that coders, they might be disappearing because they were focused mainly on the tech things, and they were just finishing the task that someone prepared. But the key here will be that there are people that properly solve the problems. And this is what we are doing on the refinement. Basically, we are solving the problem. We are preparing whole plan for the specific problem. So this might be the proper assumption to that the key key factor will be to be able to properly solve the problems and like this.
I think that the developers' jobs are changing. They are not disappearing. They are just changing into something else. And I think that most of the developers, especially those who are very good in pre-AI era, they will still be very good with AI and even better than before, definitely better than before. And they will flourish, and then their skills will be even more needed with AI. The positive thing is that those people will be generating more and more software, more and more products, or they will be doing this much quicker than before, which means that it will be much cheaper than before, which actually at the end of the day, it may occur that more and more companies, more and more people will decide that they want to have something that will be custom developed for them. So there could be even more work for programmers. So there might be a demand for even more programmers, even more developers than it is right now. But of course, we'll see how this balance will look like in the next couple of years, and how it will actually look like.
Mm-hmm. I can totally agree with that.
So let's get to the topic. You mentioned that the refinement is one of the most important boosters or buffs that you can add to your AI coding, say library of boosters. So what else do you have on your list that is very important?
All of those, I believe, are kind of connected, because something that is pretty important is defining the convention file, which is we can call it even a simple summary of your conventions that your project is following. So you are just mentioning here your stack that you are using. So for example, and the type of database,
libraries you are using, or like coding standards, this kind of stuff.
That's right. So for example, you have some strict architecture, like, I don't know, hexagonal architecture of your module. So it's worth to mention.
I think that, for the teams, I used to work like long time ago, long before AI. Mm-hmm. I used to work in the teams where this kind of document was one of the first document that every team that I worked was creating, just to agree on some standards, like coding standards, or definition of done, or definition of ready, or other things. That was just a baseline. So for many of you, most probably this is something that's obvious, but I think not for everyone.
Yeah, that's right. And most of those things are pretty obvious, but those obvious things has to be finally structured, properly documented, and shared with AI. And this is something that not all of us are understanding, that we have to share those things with the AI to have the result that we are expecting. Because when we add those conventions file, then we add to the context the result of the refinement. So what needs to be built, how it's supposed to be built. Then we are pretty closer to give everything we know to the AI to get the best result that we can get. So next things, for example, here, the design to UI. So we can build a flow to first have the conventions file still there as one thing. So here we will be describing how we are implementing specific design, and then we can share the, let's say, screenshot of the design. And based on those two things, AI is in pretty much most of the cases implement properly the design built by the designer, with the assumption you already made, because you shared also the conventions file.
I think we record another episode with one of our designers where they will show how they use AI to create designs and speed up creation of designs. So this process is, like AI is used everywhere. on each stage of the process. So AI is implementing designs that was designed maybe not by AI, but with AI as well, which is crazy, actually.
Yeah, that's right. So we can really take the advantage of using AI in separate flows that we have in whole ecosystem of developing the product. So it's not only developing, not only coding, but also, like you said, designing of the product. And then we can even take a step further, use it as a whole team, use it as support for the refinement if we have some questions and stuff like that. Still, there's a lot of place to use the AI that we currently are not doing. But still, if you get to know this tool more and more and more, you are more decisive when to use it and how to use it.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so there was already a lot that you shared with us, and I think that everyone who's watching it, you already realized that vibe coding, even if that's a great idea and that many people can benefit on it and many people can use it, especially people who never code before and now have this opportunity to build something on their own, to play with it, to actually learn some basics of coding that way as well. They could deliver something and do something, but this is something that is way more simpler than the way that the real developers, let's call it real developers, true programmers using AI at their work, and how AI is actually speeding up not only this very simple problems solving, but way more sophisticated problem solving, way more complex problem solving. And that's doable, that's possible, but it's not obvious, it's not easy. It also requires some skills. And I know that you and Jacob, who was a guest in one of the previous episodes, you are working together on some course, on some online training for developers on how to use AI in their day-to-day work. Could you tell us a little bit more about it?
Of course, so with Jacob, I believe we started our journey, let's say, with using AI in the development as it pop up with the ChatGPT in last year. And we want to share our experience, how we are using it, how the market is using it, when to use it, even. So we are sharing our knowledge in with the theory, but also in the practice, because we are sharing our prompts that we are using. We are sharing whole library basically of the prompts and the cases that we are using, and also we are also trying to support the organization to start implementing basically AI in their organization, not only for the individuals but as a whole group.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that we'll add some more information about the course somewhere in the episode description. But I think that's all for today. So thank you very much, Sebastian, and thank you everyone for watching it. If you have any questions about the AI coding and how AI could help you in your day-to-day job as a programmer, do not hesitate to comment under this episode or contact us directly. And if you are looking for software development services done by people who know how to speed up the process with AI, how to do this way more efficient than even last year or in the last couple of years, it was done by almost everyone. You do not hesitate to contact us and to let us know, and we'll definitely find a way to cooperate efficiently on your next product. So thank you.
Thank you.